What if the chaos we fear is not a breakdown, but a breakthrough disguised as disorder? Kelly Wood reveals that the next 8 years won't just test our limits, they'll redefine what it means to be human. As outdated systems collapse, something far greater is emerging. A version of us that no longer runs on fear, noise, or external control. This new human isn't a myth. It's already forming in the background of your life, whispering through your choices, your discomfort, and your awakening intuition. The question isn't whether the world is changing. It's whether you are willing to become who you were born to be. Why chaos is a spiritual ceremony. It always starts with a shaking, the kind that makes your hands uncertain and your breath shallow. But Kelly explains that this shaking is sacred. The universe doesn't destroy what's working. It unravels what no longer holds truth. The chaos of these next 8 years is not punishment, it's a divine initiation. Everything that felt permanent is dissolving so that only what's essential can remain. You're not losing your world, you're being freed from the cage you didn't realize you were in. Most people resist this unraveling. They cling to predictability like a child holding broken toys, afraid to let go. But chaos is intelligent. It has timing. It knows exactly what parts of you are too small for your future. Kelly teaches that this process is not random. It's a ceremony of clearing, where your soul and the cosmos conspire to make space for the version of you that has been waiting in silence. That's why you feel the tension. That's why things are breaking. They must. Think of this unraveling like sacred fire. It burns not to destroy, but to illuminate. It doesn't take everything. It leaves only what is real. The next time your plans fall apart or your identity feels like it's fading, ask yourself, what is being invited to rise in its place? Chaos doesn't hate you. It's simply removing the costumes you've outgrown. And in that space, the real you begins to breathe. The disappearance of the shallow self. There is a part of you that was built only to survive. It knows how to blend in, how to smile on cue, how to follow rules it never agreed to. Kelly calls this the shallow self, the version of you that was shaped more by fear than by truth. And as we enter these 8 years of transformation, that shallow self won't survive the journey. It will begin to fade, not in cruelty, but in mercy. You'll start to notice it happening in small ways. Things that used to excite you will feel hollow. People you once admired might now seem lost. Roles you played perfectly will begin to itch like costumes worn too long. That's the soul surfacing. Not with a bang, but with a quiet refusal to pretend. Kelly says this isn't a loss of self. It's a shedding, a return, a quiet revolution from within. What's left after the shallow self disappears is something startling and unfamiliar. You, not the curated version, not the masked one, but the raw, radiant feeling being underneath. You'll speak less, but your words will weigh more. You'll want fewer things, but feel more full. This isn't regression. It's remembering. And once that old skin falls away, you'll finally meet the one who's been here all along, watching from the soul's edge, waiting for permission to lead. What the body will start saying. Your body has always spoken, but in whispers, in tension, in strange aches, in sudden exhaustion that no sleep could fix. Kelly reveals that in this coming era, the human body will no longer be silent. It will become a spiritual communication device, a living interface between soul and matter. And the messages will get louder, stranger, and more specific. You might begin to feel shifts in your posture that aren't physical but emotional. A weight in the chest when you're lining. A burst of energy when truth is near. Tingling down the spine not from fear, but recognition. Kelly shares that these are not symptoms. They are instructions. Your bones will become the first responders of your intuition, transmitting information before your mind can catch up. The body will say what the soul no longer wants to silence. Learning to listen to this inner whispering is not a trend, it's a requirement. The new human doesn't override their body. They co-govern with it. They treat physical symptoms as messengers, not inconveniences. The more you learn this sacred language, the faster you'll move into alignment. And the more aligned you become, the more your body will transform, not into something perfect, but into something sacred. It becomes less of a vessel and more of a temple for truth to live in. The end of answers, the rise of real knowing. We've been trained to seek answers, to fill the unknown with certainty. But the next 8 years are not about having the right facts. Kelly explains that this phase of evolution is about developing deep inner knowing, the kind that doesn't arrive through logic, but through stillness, presence, and trust in the unseen. Answers will feel empty. Knowing will feel inevitable. This shift can feel disorienting. You'll realize that your books, your mentors, even your well-reasoned plans can't guide you through what's coming. That's not because you're lost. It's because you've graduated. Kelly shares that when the soul matures, it no longer hunts for knowledge. It becomes a vessel for revelation. The questions don't disappear, but they stop needing immediate solutions. Instead, they become doorways into deeper levels of reality. You'll begin to live differently when you trust this knowing. You'll pause before reacting. You'll move only when something within you settles into still clarity. You'll no longer be afraid of silence, because silence will become where you hear. This kind of knowing doesn't prove itself. It shifts reality simply by being honored. And as answers collapse under the weight of too much noise, knowing will rise. Quiet, confident, and more powerful than anything you can memorize. The soul will no longer ask permission. There is a moment in every awakening journey when the soul stops knocking and begins walking in. For years, your higher self may have whispered, waited, observed. But Kelly says in this coming era, your soul will no longer wait for your consent. It will begin moving without approval, choosing what aligns, even if it scares your ego to death. You'll feel it in sudden clarity. You'll say no to things you tolerated for years. You'll walk away from contracts, habits, and people that your shallow self relied on to feel safe. This isn't rebellion, it's return. Kelly explains that the soul doesn't destroy your life, it reclaims it. And once it begins, nothing fake can stay for long. The new human no longer negotiates with fear before they act. They don't need validation to follow their inner fire. They understand that the soul has waited patiently, and now it's leading. This will be the quiet revolution of the next 8 years. Humans who no longer ask if it's okay to be whole. They will become whole anyway. Not with arrogance, but with divine audacity. And in that boldness, they will rebuild a world that never had to break. The quiet will become loud. We've been conditioned to equate power with volume, more words, bigger actions, louder opinions. But as we enter this era of transformation, Kelly reveals that the opposite is becoming true. Quiet will carry the most weight. Stillness will speak louder than speeches. A calm presence will shift more than 1,000 reactions. The world will become so loud that only the silent will be heard. You'll notice a change in yourself. You'll speak less but feel more. You'll stop chasing conversations that lead nowhere and begin gravitating toward spaces that hold presence. People will sense something in you without understanding what it is. That's not mystery. It's inner coherence. Kelly shares that this quiet isn't emptiness. It's concentration. It's the energy of someone who knows who they are and no longer needs to broadcast it. In this next phase, the new human becomes a quiet force. They don't react to chaos. They anchor clarity in the middle of it. They don't shout truth. They embody it. And because they're rooted in stillness, the world begins to shape itself around their frequency. Kelly teaches that silence will become sacred technology. A pause will say more than explanation. And in a world addicted to noise, the one who is calm becomes the true revolution. What was hidden beneath emotions will begin to speak. For most of our lives, we've been taught to manage emotions, control them, suppress them, or fix them. But emotions are not problems. They are messengers from the spirit, speaking a language the mind forgot. Kelly reveals that in the coming years, our emotional body will awaken as a primary source of guidance. The goal won't be to feel less. It will be to feel truer. You'll begin to notice new layers beneath the surface. Anger that used to feel irrational will point to buried truth. Sadness that once felt paralyzing will become a path to soul remembering. Even joy will feel deeper, less like a reaction, more like a frequency your soul chose to live inside. Kelly teaches that our emotions have never been mistakes. They've just been misunderstood transmission codes. The new human doesn't numb what they feel. They listen to it like sacred instruction. Emotions won't be the opposite of logic. They'll be higher logic, more intelligent, more complete. And as emotional intelligence deepens, our decisions will shift from reactive to resonant, from impulsive to inspired, because once you learn to listen to what lies beneath the feeling, you're no longer led by emotion. You're led by truth that knows how to feel. The collapse of outer teachers. For centuries, humanity has looked up toward gurus, leaders, systems, and guides for truth. But Kelly says the age of outer teaching is dissolving, not because wisdom has died, but because it's changing its address. It's moving inward. The next 8 years will see the fall of pedestal-based wisdom. The teacher will become decentralized. You will become the access point for everything you once thought lived outside of you. This doesn't mean teachers won't exist, but their role will shift. They will no longer offer ladders to climb. They will offer mirrors to reflect. You'll find yourself drawn less to advice and more to resonance. You'll ask not, do they have the answer? But does this awaken something I already know? And when it does, you'll follow that thread inward, not outward. The new human does not dismiss teachers, but they refuse dependency. They know the greatest truths arrive not through lecture, but through direct experience. You'll begin to trust your insights more than other people's instructions. You'll make mistakes, but they'll be your own. And in that, you'll gain something no external voice can give you: inner authority. The age of looking up is over. The age of looking in has begun. Sacred strangeness will be your new normal. You'll begin to notice strange things, moments of time bending, thoughts manifesting instantly, conversations that feel scripted by something beyond you. This isn't delusion, it's the emergence of sacred strangeness. Kelly describes this as the breakdown of reality's edges, revealing what has always existed just outside the lines. The veil is thinning, not just globally, but personally. Your perception is expanding. The experiences you once dismissed, intuitive hits, symbolic dreams, déjà vu, will now become reliable guidance. You'll move not from logic, but from energy. You'll walk into a room and know what's unsaid. You'll meet someone and remember them without knowing how. Kelly teaches that the new human isn't becoming weirder, they are becoming real. Because what we call strange is often just what we haven't been taught to name. Embracing this sacred strangeness means trusting your inner world, even when it makes no external sense. You'll become fluent in silence, sensitive to pattern, attuned to frequencies others can't hear. And in doing so, your life will begin to move with a rhythm that feels designed, not by your mind, but by a field of intelligence you now remember belongs to you. Strange? Yes, but deeply sacred, and it's just the beginning. Old roles will burn in sacred fire. You were never meant to stay the same, but for years you've played roles: child, partner, achiever, healer, even spiritual seeker. These masks helped you survive, but now they're starting to feel heavy, outdated. Kelly shares that the next phase of your awakening will involve a sacred fire, not destructive, but refining. This fire doesn't burn your essence, it burns your costumes. You might feel like you're losing your identity. That's normal. When a soul steps forward, it disorients the personality. The titles you clung to will begin to disintegrate. The expectations of others will fall away. You'll grieve the version of you that tried so hard to belong. But Kelly says this grief is sacred. It's the funeral of falsehood, and it makes space for something real to emerge. As the roles burn, the new human is revealed, not as a concept, but as a living truth. You'll no longer perform, you'll exist. You'll no longer strategize your worth, you'll simply radiate it. This transformation isn't comfortable, but it is liberating. Because once you rise from that sacred fire, you'll no longer need permission to be whole. You'll simply be the flame that lights the path for others. Time will feel like soft clay. In the years to come, your relationship with time will no longer feel linear. The clock will still tick, but something deep inside you will begin to reject its authority. Kelly explains that the new human doesn't move through time, they shape it. You'll begin to experience moments stretching, collapsing, and looping in ways your logical mind can't fully track. This is not confusion, it's evolution. Time is no longer a ruler, it's becoming a medium you're learning to mold. You might begin to feel days speeding up or slowing down, depending on your emotional frequency. Hours may pass in minutes during alignment, while minutes may feel eternal when you're resisting truth. These aren't glitches. They're indicators that you are beginning to experience time as energy, not math. Kelly teaches that this pliability is a marker of advanced consciousness. The more you live from presence, the more time responds to you instead of the other way around. This shift will change how you work, rest, create, and even age. You'll no longer push yourself against a deadline that doesn't match your internal rhythm. You'll stop sacrificing sacred moments for the illusion of being on time. Instead, you'll enter Kairos, soul timing, where everything unfolds in a rhythm that's cosmic, not scheduled. This isn't laziness, it's precision, and it's how the new human begins to walk through life without being chased by time. As this unfolds, you'll develop a new respect for stillness, for timeless presence. You'll find that the most important moments in your life happen outside the grid of planning, when your soul takes over the clock and says, now. And in that now, miracles become natural, growth accelerates, and life stops feeling like a race and starts feeling like art. You'll learn to hear what can't be spoken. In the coming shift, you'll find yourself understanding things that no one has said. Words will become unnecessary in certain moments because communication will begin to happen in a field beyond language. Kelly calls this the rise of vibrational listening, the ability to sense truth, feel intention, and absorb meaning not through speech, but through presence. This is not imagination, it's evolution. You're not just hearing anymore, you're reading frequency. You'll begin to feel the emotional and energetic texture of a room the moment you enter. You'll sense what someone isn't saying more clearly than what they are. This kind of listening comes with deep inner stillness, which is why the noisy mind will struggle here. Kelly shares that as you quiet down, your sensitivity increases. And that sensitivity becomes a super skill, allowing you to engage with life on levels most can't even perceive. This shift will change how you relate to others. You'll no longer feel the need to fill silence. You'll become more interested in what's behind the words than the words themselves. Relationships will become richer, quieter, more sacred. And when you do speak, your words will carry greater resonance because they will rise from a place of energetic clarity. You won't speak to be heard, you'll speak to transmit truth. This is how the new human moves through the world, not just as a communicator, but as a receiver of the unspoken. It's not about reading minds. It's about reading meaning without mental filters. And when this ability becomes active in you, every interaction becomes a spiritual conversation, even when no sound is made. People will feel like mirrors, not characters. The next 8 years will strip away the illusion that people are merely personalities moving through your story. Kelly teaches that every person you encounter is a mirror, reflecting back a part of your consciousness, sometimes comforting, sometimes confronting, but always precise. The new human won't see others as random characters. They'll recognize each soul as a symbolic reflection, appearing at exactly the right moment to reveal something within. At first, this might feel uncomfortable. The people who frustrate you the most may actually be showing you unintegrated aspects of yourself. Those you admire deeply may be awakening parts you've forgotten to claim. Kelly shares that judgment will begin to fade, not because you've become indifferent, but because you've learned to look deeper. What others trigger in you is an invitation, not an insult. This understanding will transform your relationships. Conversations won't just be exchanges, they'll be awakenings. Arguments will reveal your limits. Attraction will reveal your longing. Even strangers will begin to feel significant. This isn't fantasy, it's recognition. The new human knows how to look beyond personality and see the lesson, the echo, the alignment. Relationships become less about roles and more about revelations. Once you realize this, you stop taking things personally, and you start taking them spiritually. Every eye you meet becomes a portal. Every interaction becomes a mirror, and the world no longer feels like a theater of chaos. It becomes a sacred hall of reflection where you meet yourself again and again, until you no longer forget who you truly are. You'll crave depth like you craved air. Shallow conversations will exhaust you. Small talk will feel like sandpaper on your soul. The surface of things will no longer satisfy. Kelly says this is one of the clearest signs that the new human is rising. A craving for depth so strong, it feels physical. You won't be able to tolerate anything fake, not in people, not in entertainment, not in your own thoughts. Only truth will breathe for you. This change won't come from effort. It will come from exposure. Once you've tasted deep presence, meaningful conversation, or authentic silence, you'll realize how much you've been starving. You'll feel the hollowness of things you used to enjoy. And while others may still feed on distractions, you'll begin seeking only what nourishes your soul. Kelly explains that this shift is not elitism. It's alignment. Your soul is becoming louder than your habits. You'll gravitate toward books that stir something ancient inside. Music that doesn't just sound good, but feels like memory. People who ask questions that lead to revelation, not gossip. And you'll notice something else too. When you live from depth, your joy deepens. Your sorrow deepens. Everything becomes more alive, more honest. Because now, you're no longer swimming in the shallow end of life. You've dived into the sacred waters where transformation truly happens. This craving for depth isn't a trend. It's a new oxygen. And as you honor it, you'll find yourself in the company of others who have made the same descent. You'll recognize them by the silence in their presence, and the infinite galaxies behind their eyes. The spirit of place will start speaking again. There are places on Earth that seem to hum with memory: forests, mountains, ruins, even quiet corners of a city. The ancients knew these places held consciousness. And in the next 8 years, Kelly says that ability to feel the spirit of place will return. The new human won't just walk through space. They'll interact with it, receive from it, and be guided by it. You may begin to feel drawn to certain places without knowing why. A town, a tree, a street corner might feel strangely alive. That's not your imagination. It's your sensory field picking up the resonant imprint of memory. Every place on Earth holds energetic residue of joy, pain, ritual, and transformation. As your awareness sharpens, you'll begin to recognize these energies and even hear their silent messages. This sensitivity will shift how you travel, how you choose your home, even how you decorate your room. It's not about style, it's about vibrational conversation. Kelly explains that the new human arranges space the way musicians tune instruments. Not for aesthetics, but for harmony. Your bed becomes a sanctuary. Your kitchen becomes a healing center. Every environment becomes an extension of your inner frequency. You'll walk through endings like openings. In the old world, endings were met with fear. We mourned what left, resisted what crumbled, and tried to hold on to structures that had already expired. But as the new human emerges, that relationship with endings will evolve. Kelly teaches that in this new era, endings are no longer exits. They are initiations. You'll begin to walk through them not with dread, but with deep spiritual trust. This doesn't mean the grief will disappear. It means the grief will be understood. Loss will no longer be viewed as punishment. It will be recognized as graduation. Whether it's a job, a friendship, a belief system, or even a version of yourself, when something falls away, it will feel like the closing of a sacred door that must lock before the next one opens. And deep within, you'll hear a quiet voice whisper, "You're ready." Kelly describes this shift as moving from reaction to reverence. Instead of panicking, you'll pause. You'll listen. You'll understand that what ends is not taking from you. It's making room. The new human doesn't beg for permanence. They honor impermanence as the natural rhythm of a soul expanding beyond its current shell. Endings will begin to feel more like invitations to step into something unshaped, something luminous, something earned. And when you finally realize that every ending is a corridor dressed in shadow, you'll stop clinging to what's leaving and start preparing for who you'll become once it's gone. The soul knows how to walk through endings, and in the years ahead, it will show you how to do so not with fear, but with open eyes and open hands. You'll become unavailable to manipulation. The world is full of subtle manipulations, marketing that preys on insecurity, relationships that trade love for control, systems that reward obedience over authenticity. But the new human is becoming energetically immune to all of it. Kelly shares that this immunity doesn't come from defense or resistance. It comes from clarity, from a frequency so rooted in truth that manipulation simply can't enter the field. This transformation happens quietly. One day, something that used to sway you will lose its power. Guilt won't work anymore. Pressure will feel irrelevant. Fear-based persuasion will sound like noise. Not because you've hardened, but because you've refined. Kelly teaches that as your self-worth becomes internalized, external hooks no longer have anything to latch onto. You're no longer reacting, you're choosing. This doesn't mean you'll never feel influenced. It means you'll always know when you are. Your intuition will light up. Your body will signal discomfort. Your inner compass will speak louder than any external promise. And when manipulation shows up wearing the mask of love or wisdom, you'll smile. not with arrogance, but with knowing. Because once you see the trick, you can't be tricked again.